What's going on, guys? This is Ryan with RK Outpost, and we had some more leaks of Colin Trevorrow's Duel of the Fates, the concept art from Duel of the Fates. We had a lot of that a few weeks ago. The script leaked out thanks to Robert Meyer Burnett is the one who initially reported on it, and then we also had the concept art that was leaked on Reddit. Well, we have more of that today, and it comes on a day where the Rise of Skywalker has now had the third worst drop-off in box office history. And we've pretty much beat that to death. We know that this is a disappointment for Disney, for Lucasfilm. So it's interesting to see all the interest in what Duel of the Fates would have been. And I think the reason you're seeing this is because of the reaction to The Rise of Skywalker. And I've talked about it before. This is just an early draft. And it's very clear that they wouldn't have been able to do a lot of this once Carrie Fisher passed away. They had to go back to the drawing board. It's rumored that Trevorrow wanted then to bring Luke, make Luke a much bigger part of the film, and that's where some of the creative differences happened, and Trevorrow left, J.J. Abrams came back in, and we got the disaster that is Rise of Skywalker. And I do have to thank Tugs over on Twitter, who is the one that I saw post this first, a little bit after it happened, these new concept art, and we will go and look through all of the concept art. You can see from screen, I also picked up the story. Star Wars 9 art reveals even more of Rey and Kylo's story in Trevorrow's movie. And then it talks a little bit about what had happened. With Trevorrow's script available for everyone to read, the inevitable comparison between Duel of the Fates and Rise of Skywalker began. After the treatment, pieces of concept art followed, depicting a significantly different Star Wars 9 from what made it on the big screen. And a new batch has been uploaded to Imgur, shared by Reddit Nantoon. As with earlier leaked concept art, these images give fans more of an idea of what Trevorrow had in mind. So let's just go ahead and go through all of it, shall we? So you see here a disguised BB-8 infiltrating. You see BB-8 right there. He's wearing a disguise. Whoops, can't do that, but you can see it. A disguised BB-8 infiltrates First Order shipyard on Kuat Moon. And I think this is pretty cool. The orbital ring that delivers ore to the Kuat shipyards. And I do think that would have been something cool to see. Why don't I like that? There we go. Something cool to see is the Kuati shipyards are pretty legendary when it comes to Star Wars Legends in the expanded universe, because they really delved into Kuat as a planet, what those shipyards meant to everyone, how important they were in the galaxy. So that would have been cool to see. Again, it's Disney Star Wars, so it wouldn't be the Legends in the expanded universe that I'm in love with, but to see it come to life would have been interesting. Stormtroopers walk among a migrant worker village. Poor migrants working in Kuat. And then here's an image that a lot of people have looked at. So it's them in disguise, Finn and Poe in disguise with Rey with that double-bladed lightsaber running away from some stormtroopers fighting some others. Interesting. And this, really cool. The crew detonates an orbital ring and steals an Eclipse Star Destroyer from the Kuat docking bay. How they would steal this entire thing? Listen, these things take thousands and thousands of people to man them. These huge... Look at this Eclipse Star Destroyer. This thing is freaking enormous. There was some plot in there about Rey somehow being able to control, maybe mind control, maybe something like that, to be able to actually get this Star Destroyer. There's no fucking way that's possible. It would have to be the entire crew to be able to actually run this thing. At least in my opinion, from what I've seen explained. Again, this is all Star Wars lore that they threw out of the way. So who knows what they actually think anymore. Maybe you can run a Star Destroyer with a crew of like 3 people. But there's no way that they would have been able to actually take this, in my opinion. But they do steal that. Second draft. On Moraban, Wamals treat a near-death Kylo. So interesting that they're on Moraban. And Kylo is hurting. I assume this is from the lightning of the holocron. That's my only assumption. Here, a lot of people are talking about this image of Leia. Again, obviously so much of this would have been impossible to do with the death of Carrie Fisher. But Leia at the Resistance base on Korolev. And then here you have an image, reminiscent of Darth Vader's helmet getting put on. This is Kylo Ren getting a new helmet. Second draft. With the Knights of Ren hot on their tail, Poe pushes the Falcon into light speed and crashes onto the ice planet of Wavet. So is that similar to the light speed skipping that they were doing? Maybe that carried over a little bit. And there is Rey, looks like, in the background there. And they have a little camp out. The crew stranded on Wavette sit around a campfire. You can't see them because I'm in the way. God, this is annoying. There you go. Now you can see them. Having a little fire. Roasting space marshmallows, perhaps. The docking array on Bonadan, and we saw a little bit of Bonadan earlier. Here's the docking array. Would have been interesting. I think that one of the cool things about the prequels was we got to see creative things like this. If we could get to see this docking bay like spinning around and different ships landing on it, I think that would have been something really cool if that's what their intention was. Who knows? The Razor sails docked on Bonadan. We've seen that before. Chewie grabs this Knight of Ren, throws him into the air, and shoots him out of the sky like a clay pigeon. I don't know exactly why. If he throws him off this platform, he would then need to shoot him in midair. Probably would have looked pretty cool. Maybe not super practical, but would have been funny, I suppose. Then this. Kylo approaches the Sith temple on Remnicor. So this is the place where he supposedly gets trained by Tor Valum, who was evidently Darth Sidious's master. Forget about Plagueis. Forget about what George Lucas has said about Plagueis being the master. You know, forget about all of that. We're going to introduce this character called Tor Valum, who trained Sidious, evidently. Absolute garbage. But there you have it. It is a pretty cool looking concept art. Kylo and his droid navigate Remnicor. And Kylo sucks the life force from a tree. So we get to see the actually establishment of this life force and the ability to drain it. That's what really this needs, a little more explanation. It's the problem with a lot of the force powers and stuff that they're using in the sequel trilogies. They don't really, not that everything needs to be explained, right? But you see force push and you understand that. You see force pull and you understand that. When all of a sudden, randomly, you see these force powers that have never been explained and would have been really useful in other situations but weren't used, it makes you question if people knew about this, why people weren't doing this before, just like force healing. It really makes you think about every other thing that's ever happened and if force healing could have been useful. So it would have been nice if they'd explained that a little bit. New Resistance ship. Okay, there you go. Then, oh man, Finn is captured and imprisoned in a work camp at Coruscant, early draft. This is not the best art, but you can see Finn is using a jackhammer as a stormtrooper looks on. Maybe some interesting dialogue between them. TIE fighters chase the Falcon through the Coruscant Citadel. That would have been a cool fight scene. A chase scene through Coruscant with TIE fighters following them. BB-8 flees from incoming fire. And you see, this is probably actually, too, you can see C-3PO and R2-D2. That might be the shot where R2-D2 took that blaster shot. Stormtroopers fight among Coruscant citizens. Here you go. Kylo inside a cave on Remnicor, as Tor Valum describes it, a vergence in the Force. So maybe this is where he would have that duel with Vader, with the vision of Vader, just like Luke had. Again, a lot of this Duel of the Fates, it's pretty derivative of stuff that's come before it, in my opinion, but would have been better than The Rise of Skywalker. Rey gazes at a Temple of Mortis. There you go. So the Temple of Mortis from the Clone Wars was going to be integral to what they were going to do. Rey and Kylo face off at the peak of the temple on Mortis. Would have had that duel right there. And then this one, this is the part that would have really pissed me off when we got down to it, I think, in this movie. You see Yoda and several other beings behind him. And I'll read you this. Rey lays on the stone slab still injured. Light fills up the space around her. Particles of energy floating up. She rises with the energy. The light engulfs the frame until we reach a place beyond what we know. The astral plane. Yoda, Luke, and Obi-Wan appear before her. Rey says, "Is this death?" Obi-Wan says, "In this place there is no such thing as death." Yoda reveals Rey succeeded where they failed. That, right there, is the same bullcrap that we have been dealing with. Luke, you choose to embrace the dark side and the light, to find the balance within. More of this Grey Jedi nonsense. They offer Rey a choice to stay in the comfort of the astral plane or return to the living where she will experience both love and loss. The spirits fade. Obi-Wan says, "You're a Jedi, Rey Solana, but you will not be the last." And then she raises the Millennium Falcon from beneath the ice. She BB-8 sees a familiar face on Modesta, and then Rey arrives to train a new generation of Jedi. So Rey goes on to become the savior of the Jedi, just like we had before. And that's really a huge problem that I have with the sequel trilogy. And that's why, at the end of the day, although I do think that this movie would have been coherent, would have been a better ending for the sequel trilogy, at the end of the day, it's not going to save anything. You're still left with the same problem. You're still left with the fact that you killed off these legacy characters, that you ruined their arc. You have them all appear to Rey and say, you succeeded where we failed? Are you kidding me? Just kind of disgusting, in my opinion. But would have been better for sure. There's only so much that Colin Trevorrow could really do with what he was given and the characters he had. And unfortunately, we didn't get to see that because they brought J.J. Abrams back in. And then this article does say it's worth noting there's no guarantee these concept images would have been translated on the big screen. They're done very early to help filmmakers visualize ideas. It's hard to gauge what was supposedly happening since Fisher died before filming even began. Chances are it wouldn't have made it to the final version. Totally agree. But that's the news. That's the new leaks we got. They are pretty cool to see, and honestly, I would have liked this movie better than Rise of Skywalker. But again, it's unfortunate because after the first two movies, there's really no way to save it. Let me know what you guys think of this new concept art. Is this a movie for you? And we've talked about it a little bit before, but does this Duel of the Fates, would it have been a more satisfying conclusion if we got to see something similar to that? Or was there never a chance with Disney Star Wars? Let me know in the comments below. Make sure you smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell for notifications, share this video out there, and I'll talk to you guys later. Thanks for watching, everyone, and a huge shout out to my patrons. I appreciate you guys so much. Want to follow me on Twitter or Instagram? Check out the description below. You'll find links to my P.O. box and my Patreon as well. And I'll talk to you guys later.